Hi, welcome back. So we're still in astrology and history, but today we're in India. Okay, astrology in ancient India from my second book in Intermediate's Guide to the Mystery Sciences. Ancient India was well known for its astrological, medicinal, and religious systems. The Neolithic Indus River Valley civilizations, dating back to the 8th century BCE, were already communing with neighbors, establishing professions, prioritizing agricultural methods, and trading merchandise. By the Bronze Age, the population of this rich culture was in the millions. The strategic placement of the civilization between the dominant nations of Mesopotamia and China gave India a beautiful opportunity to become the center for gatherings and commerce between them all. As a result, the Indian astrological text shared much from its neighboring cultures, and as to be expected, they also personified and allegorized deities in order to preserve the creation process for future generations. India's main religious systems were based on the teachings of the sages, previous men of the previous age who were far advanced for their time and spiritually aware. Awareness is the key. It's a concept of connection to the all from the different perspectives of awareness that came Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. Jainism is spelled with a J. Jaina, the swastika is the Jaina cross. These different approaches to connection and unity with the universe as pieces of one whole have been practiced since before recorded history and are still very alive today. And just like all other major religions of the world, their foundations are astrological. Very much like the Mazzaroth, the Hindu cosmological timeline is not linear, but cyclical. Each complete cycle, or Mahakalpa, is called a lifetime of Brahma. It's 311.04 trillion years. At the end of this time of activity is an equal length of activity, or inactivity, called Mahapralaya. Within this greater cycle are lesser cycles. In these lesser cycles, the manifested universe is repeatedly created and destroyed. Within this greater cycle are lesser cycles. In these lesser cycles, the manifested universe is repeatedly created and destroyed, encouraging the birth and death cycles which make way for new life. The created universe, including all of its energies, remains manifested for one kalpa, or a day of Brahma, which is about 4.32 billion years. With the completion of a day of Brahma comes the night of Brahma, which is an equal amount of time where the universe is dissolved, recovering from the activity of the day before. This period of darkness, which follows the period of light, is called pralaya, which means dissolution. And appropriately, the universe is said to be underwater at this time. There are 14 periods of progressive and 15 periods of regressive activity in one kalpa. The 14 periods of progression are called manvatara, each ruled by a successive manu, or evolution of man. These are your Blavatsky's root races. The 15 periods of regressive activity are called sandhya, which are described as periods of great flooding. The lesser cycles within the day of Brahma are called Yugas. There are 4: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvarpa Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The completion of the Yugas is 24,000 divine years. Each Yuga leads into the next in a repetitive cycle within the Kalpa cycle, which is within the Mahakalpa cycle. Yep, I realize that's a lot to process. Think of it like this. The day and night of the rotation of the earth is one cycle, inside a weekly cycle, inside a monthly cycle, inside a yearly cycle. It's like that, but on a much larger scale. Satya Yuga is the golden age. It is the longest period of time within the Kalpa, being 4,800 divine years, one divine year being 360 solar years. It declines into the silver age of Treta Yuga, which lasts 3,600 divine years. Treta Yuga declines further into Dvarpa Yuga, the Bronze Age, lasting 2,400 divine years. Finally, the Dvarpa Yuga falls into the lowest position for 1,200 divine years in Kali Yuga, the Iron Age. Once this night of Brahma is completed, the day of Brahma begins, when Kali Yuga ascends for another 1,200 divine years into the next Dvarpa Yuga, which ascends Further, for 2400 divine years into the next Treta Yuga, for another period of 3600 divine years until we have reached the Satya Yuga once again. And with the completion of the Satya Yuga's 4800 divine years of ascension, it begins its 4800 divine years of descent, and we repeat the cycle. The allegory used to explain the Yuga cycle is as follows. I love this one. Dharma, the great bull, walks on 4 legs in Satya Yuga. All is good and in harmony. People are happy and loving. There is no famine, sickness, or unmet need. Everyone has access to 100% of their brain. Then the Treta Yuga approaches. And as it does, people become less content. They begin to give into their delusions of individuality. They forget that we are all one and start living as separate. In the separation period, the bull of Dharma loses 1 leg. Treta Yuga is increasingly gaining momentum of ego as people grow in pride. They begin to steal worship from the gods and cause great injustices. As Dvapara Yuga begins, the divine bull loses another leg. Now people are half as happy, half as intelligent, and half as healthy as in Satya Yuga. The people of this period are only decreasing in all aspects of good. Death and mayhem are rampant. Rulers are unjust and crime is abundant. In the Kali Yuga, with only 1 leg left, the divine bull is at its lowest. People are completely selfish and completely blind to the spiritual world. The survival instincts are the only mindset, and people are on the verge of total destruction. But then, the Kali Yuga begins to ascend. And as it does, people become smarter, kinder, and more pious. This gives 1 leg back to the bull and ushers in the ascending Dvapara Yuga. As ascension gains momentum, the lifespan is longer, people are more intelligent and healthier as a result. The cooperation among nations is more evident, rulers become more just, and religions become more righteous. As this energy increases, the ascending Treta Yuga gives another leg back to the divine bull. And on 3 legs, the agility and health of the world is more abundant. Travel is made available to common people, and everyone is aware of the activity and connectivity between all cultures. People become righteous again. Famine is almost extinct, and lifespans are much longer. As the ascending Satya Yuga begins, the divine bull now has wholeness of body. All 4 legs give the world of mortals balance and harmony of mind and spirit once again. But as always, people will begin to take their blessings for granted. Generations will be born who have forgotten the stories of times past when the balance was lost. They will repeat the mistakes of their past, and we will begin the cycle again. So if you're wondering why they don't eat beef in India, it's because of the divine bull. I want to be like, it's piety for the divine bull or like shame, I don't know, but that's what that is. The cycle of the Yugas is an ancient explanation of what we now call axial precession, or the precession of the equinox. It is a core concept of astrology, and we found it in India. The spring equinox, celebrated by the common holiday of Easter, is the marker for the cosmic clock. It is aligned with the galactic center in the Milky Way, and every so often, 4400 BCE was the last time, at which time the Yuga cycles reset and the Brahma circulations reverse polarities. Or, the descending cycle becomes the ascending cycle, or the ascending cycle becomes the descending cycle. There are 2 theories which explain the axial precession. 1, the Earth has a wobble. 2, the sun is locked in a binary revolution with the Pleiades. The ancients surely believed that something astrological occurred, which was observable and affected Earth every 24,000 years. Modern scientists believe that the axial precession happens every 25,772 or 25,920 years. They don't agree. The axial precession refers to the spherical Earth, spherical Earth, having a slant, as if you took a beach ball, and instead of holding it upright with the symmetrical lines giving you a defined symmetrical appearance, you hold it slightly offset to the left or to the right, where the northernmost center is about 23 degrees from the topmost center position. This occurrence, science suggests, is gravity-induced. it causes our seasons as the earth rotates around the sun, where in the farthest point of the globe from the sun, at its farthest point on the rotation thereabout, is receiving winter season. Likewise, the closest point to the sun in the same rotational cycle is receiving its summer season. The observable method of discovery of this occurrence in ancient times was tracked by movements of the stars. In particular, the zodiacal belt constellation stars were cataloged with deep interest. The zodiacal belt is a collection of constellations which are stationed no more than 8 degrees north or south of the Earth's equator. This means that they are ever behind our observational point of the sun at all times. They are shining down on us at the same angle as is our sun. If the sun is the bringer of life, they must be the guardians of life, or so the ancients believed. They are divided into 12 constellations, one for each month of our calendar. The Babylonians had 13. Their constant watch over us led to our constant watch over them. We base our coordinate observations of the rest of the universe on their relative distance or angle to our zodiac. Like, that's a thing. And then there's a picture. So here's an image of the heliocentric model of the sun between the earth and the zodiacal belt. Each constellation of the zodiac marks our coordinates at 30-degree intervals around the Earth's ecliptic. Yeah, that's legit. Aries is a marker for 30 degrees. Aries is a marker for 0 degrees. Taurus gives us 30 degrees. The twins of Gemini give us 60 degrees. Cancer gives us 90 degrees. Leo gives us 120 degrees. The Virgin is at 150. We hit Libra, we're at the center, which is at 180 degrees. Scorpio takes us to 210 degrees. Sagittarius is 240 degrees. Capricorn is a marker for 270 degrees. Aquarius tells us that we're at 300 degrees. Pisces is at 330 degrees. And then we come back around to Aries, 360 degrees, which is also 0 degrees. The equinoxes and solstices are our markers for the change of seasons. They are congruent with the sun's alignment with the celestial equator in Aries, spring, Cancer, summer, Libra, autumn, and Capricorn, winter. The vernal equinox marks a 0-degree point in Aries. Equinox signifies equal parts of day and night. Due to axial precession, however, the vernal equinox moves from east to west at a pace of 1 degree every 72 years. That is to say, the dates of the equinox and solstices change. Consequently, so do their constellational markers. India, Babylon, and Persia all began their calendar year with the vernal equinox. Hebrew Passover was set to the full moon occurring after the vernal equinox. The Egyptians, Mayans, Asian cultures, and Zoroastrians too celebrate the vernal equinox. And many cultures and in many traditions, this point of harmony and equality in our macrocosm has long been celebrated and used as a starting point. Because of axial precession, the vernal equinox in this current age is in Pisces. In the next 600 years or so, it will be in Aquarius. Yet because of tradition, we keep the sign of Aries as our vernal equinox marker. The cusp of Aries is where we are now. The cusp of Aquarius is where we are now. The cusp was entered upon roughly in 1881, about which Thomas H. Burgoyne of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, he wrote The Light of Egypt. If you haven't read The Light of Egypt, stop what you're doing right now and go read The Light of Egypt. It's amazing for astrology purposes. So Thomas H. Burgoyne of the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor said, "Our solar parent has scarcely crossed the threshold of the sign of Aquarius, and already we observe in many directions the activities of the particular influx. True, it is but the first flush of the dawn of a new era, the harbinger of a glorious day to our race. In the light of this truth, ponder well on the nature of the influx radiating from the solar center, each orb of his shining family absorbing a different ray or attribute of solar energy corresponding to its own particular nature. Applying the vernal equinox as the marker for the progression of man's evolution on the Yuga cycles, we can chart where we are. The Christian Bible says that God made the universe in 6 days. If that is the truth, the entirety of creation took 6 turns of axial precession. Now we only need to decide where the beginning point was for God. Did God begin in the vernal equinox? Not likely, since Earth was not there in the initial stages of creation. God started with the heavens. According to all religious beliefs we have gone over so far, the heavens come from darkness, not light. darkness is water, just as light is fire. The chaos of primordial darkness is considered primordial waters. In physics terms, darkness is both entropy and absorption. Entropy is a wave pattern of disorder through which space-time is born. Absorption is a process of quantum entanglement about which we can only study the manifested reflection. Gary Zukav describes this quantum phenomenon by saying an electron, for example, constantly is emitting and absorbing photons. These photons are not full-fledged photons, however. They are a now you see it, now you don't variety. They are exactly like a real photon, except that they don't fly off on their own. They are reabsorbed by the electron almost as soon as they are emitted. Therefore, they are called virtual photons. That's a thing in physics. The difference between a photon and a virtual photon is that the virtual photon has no physical mass, but still emits energy, while the photon has both consistently. The virtual photon, then, is a mirrored image of our photons in another plane of existence. Using this logic, we can presume that the same thing happens elsewhere, projecting our photons as their virtual photons. Particle entanglement is the scientific explanation of this phenomenon. In today's scientific circles, it is widely accepted that every particle is deeply connected to every other particle across the universe. Hello, principles of natural law. It's good to see you alive and well. All truths are but half-truths, and all paradoxes can be reconciled. The paradox of particle entanglement answers the question of where does the photon go once absorbed? Everywhere. It also explains where here is. Here is in the shadow of everywhere. The shadow is not created but revealed. The primordial darkness, or the here aspect of things, is revealed as a virtual photon or absorption of light, originating elsewhere. In our early days of growing consciousness, our ancestors recorded these truths as stories and myths of good and evil, which carried the astrological quantum physics of light and darkness, spirit and body, existence and reflected manifestation, into the present day, where we have entered the cusp of Aquarius, and in doing so received the insight to interpret the underlying truths of life stemming from darkness. The darkest time of year for us is during the winter solstice. Many religious holidays and traditions lasting through the ages, though morphed and corrupted over time, thank you, Catholic Church, have survived to mark the winter solstice today. It is more widely celebrated than any other time of year. The Christian holiday of Christmas and the Roman Saturnalia dominate the Western celebrations of the time when the sun adorns the earth the least throughout the day. Our days are shorter, permitting more darkness, more fear, and thereby more demons to roam free. On the solstice day itself, the sun is celebrated as having died, and with the proper rituals and appropriation of love for one another, we can resurrect the sun with more vigor, causing the days to lengthen again. This is the allegory of the biblical death and resurrection of Jesus on the cross of the Mazaroth. The Jena cross, stolen by the Nazi Empire, originally stood as a sacred symbol of the seasons. The cross in the middle divides the wheel of the calendar into fourths. The dots signify seasons, and the horizontal lines at the end of each directional point of the cross signify the equinoxes and the solstices. Winter solstice is the Yod. Vernal equinox is the He. Summer solstice is the Val. Autumnal equinox is the second He. Superimposed over the wheel of the Mazaroth, these markers point to the clockwise movement of the procession. Where the autumnal equinox is in Libra in the 7th house, it has now moved into Virgo, which is in the 6th house. The procession is a clock hand. It tells us the time we are in. Axial procession is an order which was born from the need for order. We plan our agricultural and travel events according to this calendar. What we forget to look at, though, is the bigger picture of time. Time is not just solar, it is also universal. Universal time is kept by ages, eons, or yugas. A day of Brahma is a lifetime of the universe. We are in a cycle within a cycle within a cycle. I won't go into the elaborate deities of the ancient peoples of the Indus River Valley. It's a system which would be better explained by a believer of its traditions. I will say, however, that the various religions of this part of the ancient world did all agree that the whole universe was created by one God, and that all other forms of life are various aspects of the one God. The trinity of this God is much like all other trinities, one creator, one destroyer, and one savior. In this way, we have kept the tradition of fire plus water equals air. We have also preserved the lost truth of quantum physics, once understood well by our ancient ancestors, that creation comes only from destruction and is only balanced by understanding. The ancient Indus River Valley peoples have done us a huge kindness by preserving our truths in traditions and religious concepts. May we repay their kindness by interpreting their message and teaching it to our children with an open mind and a heart of understanding. And there you go. Boom, all in one video. Astrology in India. Yay. Let me know if you have any questions.